drop a like and do share. Leave your comments and do not forget to subscribe for more videos.
Hello and welcome to Edupedia World.
Hello, welcome to SAP UI5 training session. In today's session, we're gonna see a routing example. So how routing works in SAP UI5. Let us take this example. This is how the routing concept is. Basically, you want to view from one page to other. So navigation happens through routing. So there are two ways of routing. One is event bus and another one is routing. Event bus is deprecated now and most of them are not using event bus. Why? Because event bus doesn't change the URL. So the navigation doesn't work when you do refresh. Understand the problem? When it comes to event bus, I'll be discussing this event bus concept in master detail page. Master detail page in sap.m.app. So the master and detail page will work on event bus only by default. So this page URL will not be refreshed. Suppose once you navigated from master to detail page, and when you are in detail page and you have refreshed the URL, then it will directly come out of your detail page and come to master page. That is not a good way of doing a routing. It is possible. If you want to do that as project requirement, you can always welcome to use that. But when it comes to routing, this is a good and recommended way of doing. Now all the Fury apps, whatever they have developed using this routing concept. In UI5 also, we are using routing concept. This is recently introduced. When the SAP UI5 started in 2012, from that time, they have been using bus concept, event bus. Now they have changed it to routing. This is how the routing is. Just see the URL and the way the page is navigating. First, by default, this is one page, that is routing example and overview page. And this is overview, second view and third view. So first, when I click on go to next page, then it is going to second page with one, then nav to the same page and overview, second view and third view. And the next, when you nav to same page, if you want to navigate the same page, if you want to refresh it, suppose with new value, I want to refresh one with 7 value now. See here routing example and it's second page. And when I click on this, nav to the same page, but I want to add one more value, means I want to change the value 1 to 7. In that scenario, I'm using this button to refresh with 7 value. See, it refreshed with 7 value. Now this is back. So once I say back, it will go to the first. This means when you have a scenario like facebook.com, once you log in with your Facebook account, everyone sees the same page. Like there will be some posts from your friends. There might be some messages. So everyone has the same UI, but the data changes depending on the ID. Similarly, second page with one ID, it gives you one data profile. When I change it to 7, it gives you 7 data profile. So see 7 like this, because we have maintained it in the application. That's how it is. So if I want to navigate to overview, then what I have to do, I have to just click on overview. It will go to overview page. And then similarly, if I want to navigate to second view, it will go to second view. And if you want to navigate to third view, it will go to third view. And similarly, when I want to go back, even URL changes. And when I refresh this URL, it has to be in the same page. I'm reloading it. So once I reload, it's the same page. Refresh with second page, one ID, and this. This is the beauty of navigation. Now we got the clear picture how, why and when we are using routing. Whenever we do anything, we need to know the purpose. Then only we can take a correct decision when we can use this concept. So the best example is Facebook. We have hundreds of profiles, but we can't have hundreds of pages for them. We have only one page with the data refresh. Now we'll see the code how we have developed. So I'll delete this and I'm going to refresh. I'm going to create this project. I'm going to start it with the fresh. So I want to clear that. So how do you delete the project from here? It's automatically deleted. Once it is deleted, it will automatically restart the server. That time, what you have to do is, say routing example is completed, means reloaded. So you have to go to server and ask for restart. So before restarting, you have to clear Tomcat work directory. Set OK. Just clear it, because if it is any thing, because if you want to use the same name again, that time it will be a problem. Suppose it will happen when you do in the beginning, you'll come across with such issues. What you will be doing is, you'll be developing some project, and if it is not working, you just directly delete it and start it from the scratch with the same name. That time it will have some issues. So that's the reason you can use the same name again, but you have to clean the Tomcat work directory, and then next step is you have to do cleaning. So cleaning is only possible when you stop the server. So you have to stop the server first, and then you can clean the Tomcat server. So it will remove all the cache data which is stored in this application server. See, clean with discard all published states and republish from the scratch. If you want to show, you can start it. Okay, it will take some time, and then it will clean all the cache. Now you can start the server. So once you start, it automatically starts. Now what you have to do is, you have to right click, new, and you can create a project here. So application project, and the next, when you say, you can give the name. I'm giving routing example. So when I say routing example, I don't want any initial view, because I want to start it from the scratch. And I'll say finish, and it will create a default thing with this index.html. There are no files. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to add few files inside this web content. That is routing example. I have already a routing example here. I'll copy all this folder, and then I'm going to paste it inside this web content. Once I paste it, it will ask, there's already existing meta.inf file. You want to override it. You can say all, s to all, because you want to override every file. Done. And now we're gonna start this. So once, what I do is, I'll refresh this, the existing one. It says it is not available, means it is not in this list. So what I'm going to do is, we have to run on server. So when we say, you can directly say finish, and we'll ask, it will restart the Tomcat server. Then I can say OK, then it restarts, and it will give you. So this routing example will be shared with you. You can make use of this, and after execution, we will see each line how and what is the importance of it. And I'm going to copy this, I'm going to close this and then go to Google Chrome. I'm using Chrome. It's always good to use Chrome because it has a default developer kit. Refresh. Once I do refresh, it will automatically reloads our application. So this is what we have seen before, and we have the example ready for us. So overview page, when you click on go to the next page, it will navigate to second page. And once you navigate or refresh, you want to refresh the content, you can do the same. So this is the best example where you can see the reference. You can use the same page and refresh it with the new data, and you can navigate from one view to other view. Like this, you can do it for the n number of views, and n number of times you can refresh the content. Now we'll see how the code is. First, we have to start with index.html. So there is one way of doing this is adding the script. In this script, we can add the latest SAPUI5 code.js. How are you going to check this? You have to go here and you have to see the difference, F12, and here you can say in the console sap.ui.version. Once you say the version, it will say 1.26.4 version. That is the latest one available now. And once I close it and then open it again, the value won't be there. So what I do is I'll remove this and use the local resources. So it's better not to use this because it takes some time to load the application, because we'll tell you that difference like when we discuss debugging skills. That time we'll see what are the things you have to take care of to run your application faster. That is a performance things. Okay, it's always good to use your local. That loads even faster than the internet because it depends on your RAM speed, not the internet speed. So I saved and it is synchronized now very well. And now we'll check the version now. We'll refresh and we'll clear everything and we'll do SAPUI.version. Now it says 1.20.7. So my Eclipse, what I'm using, it is 1.20.7. But whatever I'm using 1.20.7, it includes this all libraries. So that's the reason the UI looks like this. So I'm closing it. This is how the script tag is written, resources/SAPUI code.js. Now we will be seeing the Bootstrap. So in this Bootstrap, what we have done is as simple as it is we have included m.libraries, and then we have included the theme, and we have included the resource roots. This is one way of loading your resources. There are 2-3 resources I'm loading with different names. How I'm doing it? So how I have done it is, first I have taken com.tutorial. That means that refers to the web content. So once it's com.tutorial, that will go to the web content, and inside this web content we have SAPUI5 tutorial 1. So I'm taking this as one more name. So I'm assigning / that is web content, and inside that I'm having SAPUI5 tutorial 1. So I'm assigning this folder to this particular name. So this particular name will act as this particular folder. And whenever I talk about com.tutorial, that will act as web content. So I want to access component or index, I'll be using this com.tutorial. So the next thing is we are taking a shell. So whatever we have seen so far in the UI, that is nothing but shell. In that shell, we have a bottom, some menu, and inside the content, we have a page. Top is the title, and the bottom on the content, middle content is some text and a message and a button. So we have taken sap.m.shell. Inside this shell, we have declared the title as tutorial 1. So this appears as the title of the shell. And next, we have taken the property called app. In that app, it accepts only object. So what object we are placing? We are placing container object. What is this container? So SAPUI code.component container. And inside that, we have given a name, that is com.tutorial. So when we say com.tutorial, that will refer to this, and this will refer to /. So in HTML words, // means it will go to this web content, because the index.html is here. So wherever the application is loading, that path will be considered as /. So it will go to com.tutorial and it checks where your component container contains. So your component contains in this particular folder, and it will go to web content, and inside this it will search for component.js. Once I click on component.js, here it is clear. So it is m.shell, and it will be placing in the content. It will be inside this, clear. And then we'll go to component.js. In this component.js, we have to declare first the name, and then we can require anywhere we need this. So how we gonna declare a component? We have to use the standard UI component, and to that we can extend it. This is how we extend the standard control, the standard component we are extending now. So SAPUI.code.UI component, that is what we are extending. So there's already existing a UI core component is there. We are extending with our own name. That is, we have given com.tutorial.component, and whenever we extend the UI component, we have to give a metadata, and inside this metadata we can give properties, objects, etc. So for us, in the metadata we have something called routing, and inside that routing we have configuration and routes. So metadata, inside the metadata we have routing, and inside routing we have something called configuration. So configuration is nothing but view type, that is nothing but one property, and we are assigning HTML. This means to entire project, by default, whenever you say nav container, nav2, there is a function called nav2 function. Whenever you call that function, it will by default checks .html. So entire application I have done it with HTML page. If it is some other view, we'll discuss how it is later. So first we'll be saying, in my project I've used all HTML views. 1, 2, 3 HTML view. One is app.view.js. So view type, the navigation is between these two only. That's the reason I've taken by default HTML. Suppose if you have developed your project in XML totally, so you can use view type XML here. Okay. The next, we have to give view path. So what is this view path? View path is nothing but where our views existing. That path we have to give. So we have defined this SAP UI tutorial 1 in index.html, where we have included this here. We are using this name now. This name /SAPUI5 tutorial 1. So it will navigate into this particular folder, and inside this it will check the views. That is what view path is. Next, target controller. So target control, we have to give one name, that is nav container. So you can give any name here. I'm giving nav container. So you have to maintain the same name in the app also, whatever the control you are taking, parent control. If it is m.page or m.app or m.split app. So you have to give this name there, so that entire application will be navigating with this name. Why we have to maintain the same name? Because if you are navigating from one view to other view, we want to store that history. Where we can store that history? By using the reference name. So that name, target control, the main control, whenever we use, that time you can use this. Next, target aggregations. So in these aggregations, there are nothing but pages. So we are navigating from one page to other page. And next, clear target. So whenever we do a navigation from one view to other view, you don't want to destroy the previous view, then you have to do clear target, set it to false. So if you say clear target true, then your previous file or page will be destroyed. So it's always good to have clear target false. If your application demands that previous view should be destroyed, that time you can use this. That's true. And then routes. We have declared the meta information on the top, the parent control we have declared like target control, target aggregation, clear target, and view path and view type. Now we have to declare the patterns. That means each page we have to give one name so that it will be navigating. So that is nothing but routes, and we call it as inside routes will give the list of patterns. Each pattern will be associated with each page. Now we have two pages like overview HTML and second page .view.html. So we'll define the pattern first. So when you say pattern null, page act as the default page and the first page. So when I say pattern, name and view. So in this pattern, I have placed an empty string. That means this will act as a default one. So name, I have given overview, and then the view, I have given a view name. So name is, where will be using name is when we navigating from one view to other view, that time we give a name so that it will be navigating name, and we can pass any parameters if required that time. So the view is normally the name of that particular file. So these both are important. So which file need to be loaded and what name used to be used. So it's always good to have two names identical because it will help you to not to get confused. So if not, you'll get confused between the names if you use some other names. If you remember, that's well and good. If not, it's always good to have the same name. So once you see the name, you will see the file name also, like that. Next pattern, what it is second page. So this is nothing but second page controller. So second page controller and second page view.html. Now we have declaring the pattern, and in this pattern we want to refresh the page with different IDs. So what we are passing in the URL, here what we have seen, see in this we have placed /1, /2 or /7 different types of. So at that time we can use a input parameters. So we'll go here. That's the reason. This is how we declare a pattern. If you want to pass 2 or 3 values to it, you can do it by just /separated. So we're going to pass another ID like this. You can do it. So this is how you do it. So as of now, I'm using only one. So I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to say name, second page, and view I'm going to give. This is done. This is all about patterns. We have set the patterns now, and it is config file. So now config and routes, and then we have an initial function. So first what we have done is we have declared the configuration. We have set it up the meta information. So after metadata, what we have to do is we have to call the first process. Always the first process is init process. When it comes to JavaScript and this jQuery, SAPUI5, now it is init. So how to call the init is this. So this way, com.tutorial.component.prototype.init. So why we are using this name is, as we seen in the formatters, whenever we call a function, it will be like this, like function, the file name dot the function. So first function which is called is prototype.init. This loads at the first. So com.tutorial, this component is nothing but com.tutorial.component. We have declared dot prototype.init. So inside this, what I'm doing is here first we are requiring 2 core files. So this 2 core files is important. Why? Because this is a framework files. What does it do is, first one will store the history, and the second one will do the call function. Whenever we want to navigate from one view to other view, at that time, once the controller will be called, that is for the first time. When we talk about lifetime hooks, that is nothing but life cycle hooks. So once we call that it will be on init, on after rendering, on before rendering, and on exit. These are the 4 lifetime hooks of any controller. This will be called only once. Suppose if you are navigating from controller 1 to controller 2, that means overview controller to second view controller, overview controller to second page controller. At that time, first time when the second page is called, that time it will execute 4 hooks. But when you want to go back and again you want to come back here, that time lifecycle hooks will not be called because it's already called. That time you can handle it through this function. That function is existing here. You can name one function and every time you navigate from one view to other view, it will be called. That we'll see in that second page .controller. So as of now, these 2 files are important. Why is? One is to store history, another is to call a function. Call a function while navigating. In this example only, you see when we navigating from 1 to 7, the third view, that time we are refreshing the page and we are passing the content because we are not loading the page again. It's already loaded. So just we have to pass the data and refresh the page. How are we going to do it? We're going to do it with this one, another function which is called every time. That's the beauty of this routing. So next, after this, we have to apply whatever the changes we make. So SAPUI.core.UI component.prototype.init apply this. So it applies. And the next line is the routing. So we have to take an instance of the router and we have to initialize the method called first initialize the routing. So how are we going to do? So we have required the routing history and then some other routing match handler. Now we have to initialize. We have to run that program. So the function which is initialized is routing. So that is router, this dot get router. So this means this particular function init. So we have in this dot get router and it will be assigned to the router variable. And then this dot router handler equal to new sap.m.routing.route match handler in that router, this dot router, yeah, placing it. So whenever we say this dot get router, then it will get the instance of this. And we are initializing this method. Get router method, we are initializing here. There's 3 lines. So don't get confused. So most of them get confused here. One is just in simple words, router, we have taken the method in the variable and we are initializing that method, and where this method is coming from is this dot route handler, sap.m.route handler match. And then after initializing, we have to destroy. Suppose if you want to clear the target, that time you want to destroy the view. So that time while destroying the view, this will be called. So how to have your own destroy is like this. It's already existing. We have to write few lines. So com.tutorial.component.prototype.destroy function name if equal to this dot route handler. If it is destroy, then destroy it. Then sap.ui.component, then destroy apply. So here apply init and destroy apply. This dot arguments, whatever the arguments is passed, that will be passed away. And then we have initialized and destroy method we have written, and then the next thing is we have to create content. So what content need to be passed first, that we have to take care now. So what content we have to pass is we are passing app content. So sap.view.app we are using. So that is this dot view equal to sap.ui.view, and inside this we are adding an ID with the app, and the next is view name, that is SAPUI5 tutorial1.app. So this means it will go to this particular folder, and inside this folder we'll be having a sap.app.view.js. So the next is type. So in this type we are including sapui.core.mvc.view type. So this particular line is nothing but initialization, instantiating. Instantiating the view. So this will be one of the interview question. Okay, this is one of the interview question. So how do you instantiate the view? This is how we do. So view, this dot view equal to SAPUI.view, and inside this ID app view name we give, and then we give a type, which type it is. So it will load SAPUI tutorial 1 inside this app view.js. This will return. Now I'm going to save this file and I'm going to close it, and then after component.js it will go to app view.js. So app view.js is a normal JS file with a controller, SAPUI5 tutorial.app controller, and then it will go to create content. Create content is this dot set display block true. So that means it will block the display. So this display block will be blocked. Why? Because in desktop you don't want to see the scroll. So multiple scrolls will be avoided when you say this dot set display block true. And we're gonna return this sap.m.app. And here we give nav container name, which is already existing and written in component.js. In this component.js, when we open this, we have used target control is nav container. So you have to use this name in the app.js. Here we have to include. Then once it is included, we can return this. Now it will load app view.controller also. Once it is loaded, we don't have any function controller because we are not using anything. We are not controlling anything with this. We are just controlling routing concept. So we already have done it in the view.js. That's the beauty of view.js. You can write the function straight away in view.js only. You don't need a controller, separate controller for that. Then it will go to overview.html. Why it will go to overview.html is in the component we have a pattern, means the pattern which we have declared is null. So it will go to overview.html. That is the reason. It will go to overview.html. We will see that now in the UI. So I'll refresh this page. Once I load this, I'll go to F12 and see. So this means we are going to debugging tools. We go to resources. Inside these resources we have SAPUI.5 and let's see which is loaded now, overview controller.js. Right. So now what we do is we will change this to empty, and we'll do a overview. I've just done it. Now I'm going to save it and I'm going to refresh it. So it will load the second page. See, second page. Have you seen? Back. And once here also, when you see, it will be second page controller. So this means whenever we put an empty pattern, that means it will take by default. I'm going to save it. So it will go to overview.html first. So once I'm closing app controller. So once it goes to overview.controller, it will check what is the name of the controller which is associated with this particular view, and it will see a div, and div has an m.page. So here we are doing an m.page. So here we are doing m.page. So m.page, and we are giving the title called data title. So I'm going to change the title to routing example, and I'm going to save it. And next, I've taken inside this page, we have taken a content as aggregation. So content aggregation is there, and inside that content we have placed a label and a button. So inside this label we have written a text called data text. This is how the data text is written. And overview page, the name we have given. And the next is m.button. Inside this button we have a text called go to next page. That means go to second page. So what we are passing to the second page is this method. In this method we have written, so go to next page method, and then we'll come to a footer. So here this function need to be there in overview controller.js. So go to next page. So here when we search go to next page, you'll find a function with go to next page. So what we are trying to do here is we are getting an instance of the router. In this line we are getting an instance of the router, and what we are trying to do is we are navigating this to a second page. So the name we have given is second page, and to this we are passing ID. So we are passing ID. If you don't pass ID, then it will give you an error. And next is false. Okay, once you give this ID as null here, instead of this, you will get an error. What error you will get? We'll see. It will say the ID is not defined. So I'll go here and then refresh it, and when I say go to next page, it is not going, but it will throw an error. How to check the error? Go to console, that is press F2, and you'll get this developer guide, and go to console and it will say cannot read the property ID. So compulsory you have to give the ID. So we'll see this. This is mandatory. You have to give the ID, and you can save it. So in this place of ID, you can give anything. So we'll go to this and gonna refresh it. Once we refresh, and when you say go to next page, it is going now. I'm going to clear this breakpoint, refresh, it is triggered. See, it is going now. So when you say back, it is coming. So I'll close this one, and I'm going to give a different name. So you can give any name, any data over here. I can give a name called ID123, and I'm going to save it. So we will be seeing this difference there. So we'll go to this page and we're gonna refresh it. Once we refresh, we'll go to the next page. That time see ID123, ID123. So we'll go back. So we can give anything there, either it will be string or number, and we have to make sure wherever we use this ID that need to accept this data type, whether it is number, string, decimal, anything, float, etc. And next, what we are trying to do, nav to second page, and we have passing the ID and clearing the target as false. So we are not clearing the target. So when we are saying where route SAP UI common, so SAP UI core, we are UI component.get router for this. So this means we are getting instance of this router, and in this router we have predefined functions. So one of the function is nav2. So what does this function do is it will navigate from one view to another view through a pattern. So that pattern we have described in Component.js. Now when we say this false to true, so it will now clear the target file. So once I refresh this, once I'm going, now this routing example is there, right? So once I'm navigating, it will go to the second page successfully. But when I say back, it will not come to this. It has cleared that overview and it has come with second page /7. So now your behavior is changing now, right? So it has destroyed that particular view. See, where is that overview? It has destroyed that overview. If you want, you can have a look once again. Once you refresh this, it is going to this particular location, and here it's overview controller, and to this overview controller we have written. So this is nothing but overview page. And next, when we are navigating, so overview controller will be destroyed. Done. So nav to that. When I say back, see, it is destroyed. Now it is destroyed. It says destroyed, and when you try to navigate back, then it will not show. See the files. This is what that clear target means. So we close this and we'll go here and we'll revert back the changes and then save and save it. And here we are doing it. Now we go to overview.html. So here that is what data press means. So when we press on, go to next page. Next, we are seeing a footer, that is a footer aggregation. Content is content which comes in the middle, and when it comes to footer, footer will be the bottom line. So in the bottom we are placing a div called m.bar. So always good to have a bar. So here we'll see the UI, then see there is a bar, m.bar. Inside this bar there is content left, content middle, and content right. So you can place your content anywhere inside this bar. So I have taken m.bar. Inside that bar I have taken a middle content, and inside that middle content I am placing 3 buttons: overview button, second view button, and third view. What need to be done inside that view also we are giving. So content middle, I'm directly calling a view that is called menu. So whatever changes you make in that menu, it will appear in this HTML page. So it is simple words we are doing. We are calling a view inside a view. So menu view.html. So once we go to menu view.html, we'll be seeing there's 3 buttons. So what are the 3 buttons? One is overview, next one is second view, another one is third view. So what does this 3 views are doing? It has a go to overview, go to second view, and go to third view. So there are 3 controls inside this controller. So nothing but 3 press events. So this is go to event, go to overview. That means it will go to this overview page by taking a router as an instance, router.nav2. These 2 lines will be navigating from one view to another view. So whenever you press go to overview, it will come to this go to overview function. Inside this function, we'll be assigning router instance, and then while taking a router instance, we'll be navigating to. So nav2, that is a function. We got the instance of this router, and inside this we can use the nav2 function. So it will go to overview, and the content is null because we don't have any content because it's a default page. Like in your application, it can be a login page. When you sign out, you can use this as it will go to your particular login screen. So default clear target is false. And the next is second view. Second view is also similar. We are navigating to the second view, that is router. We are taking an object, and in this object we have a function called nav2, and we are calling as second page with the name, and then we are assigning the ID to it, and we are saying false. And the next is go to third view. So once we have the third view, and inside this we have a router, but we are changing the data, ID data, we are changing it. That's it. So router, nav2, second page, and ID7 and false. So these 3 functions will be navigating to one view to another view with a different data, and overview is nothing but a simple starting page. That's the reason no data is passed. And then we will close this. This is all about menu view.html. Now once we click on go to next page, so it will go to a second page. So what is there in the second view.html? So we'll click on that and we'll see a different parameters and controls. So first what we have used is sap.m.page because our aggregation is page. We are adding pages. Our purpose is to navigate from one page to other page. That's the reason we are using sap.m.page. And one more thing, when we are using m.page, it means the parent control m.app accepts only pages. Let us make it clear. Whenever you use sap.m.app, inside that, whatever you use, that has to be pages. So it has to be sap.m.page, and I'm giving a title to this. So this is the title is second page. Second page title I'm giving, and I'm going to save it. And then aggregation content. Inside this content I have placed 2 labels. One is a second page label, and then another one is with the ID. So whenever we refresh, this ID will come. So how this data is assigned, that we'll see. How this data, this is a named model. We can see it clearly. By seeing, you can say now it is a named model. And in that named model, we are assigning ID. So where we are doing, we will see that. So div, and in this div, we have data -SAP UI type. Like this we will be using in HTML views. And then we got a text called nav to same page. So this is nothing but refresh with a new data. So this next page will do. And when you have a custom header, in this custom header also you are using m.bar. So we have a content left. I've told you m.bar is having a content left, content middle, and content right. So when you say content left, it will be displaying towards your left side. So we'll go to this browser and we'll see what is content left. This is the content left. This is bar, and back. And when we go to the Eclipse, we can see that go back, back. So there are 3 functions, 1, 2, next page and go back, only 2 as of now. And then we have a footer, that m.bar, content middle, and the same view we are calling a menu view.html, because that's the reason. See, when the code is multiplied, means you are reusing the same code again and again. See, menu you have to place it here, and the menu you have to place it in overview.html. That's the reason we have used only one view where we are calling menu view.html, and we are calling it from one here. That's it. It makes our job easy. Rather than copy and pasting it, we are using this line, separate view. That is view inside the view. Suppose in future, there are 3 buttons in the bottom now. Here we have 3 buttons. In future you can add 2 more buttons. So you have to add it in overview.html, and then you have to add it in second page.html. So it's better to have a one menu view.html so that you can change it at one place. That's a good thing to use such methods, and we should follow such coding standards. So SAP view.menu view.html will be called here. So we'll now see second page view.controller. So in this, what we have done is we have placed this SAPUI5 tutorial 1.second page. We have given the name. So we have given the name to this, and we have called the onInit function. And inside onInit function, we got the this.router. That means we are creating an instance of this router from the UI component. And then in this router, we have another method called attach route pattern matched. Before that, what we have, nav2, that is for the navigation. Now this is for the whenever the pattern matches, means whenever there is a navigation, that time we can use this method. So this dot handle route match. So whenever it is underscore, it is a private function. It's a private function. This is located, and just for this controller we have this, and we are saying this. So this is nothing but onInit, this controller. So this controller, this we are assigning it, and we are calling this particular method, so that every time whenever the navigation happen, that time this method will be called. So once the method is called, it will come into this particular function. If it is second page, we are doing returning it. So how we get the second page of overview? We get the EVT, and I also told you whenever there is a function, it's always good to have an event so that we can see the properties inside that. So what are the properties? We have different properties, but we want to get the parameter of the name. That means name of that particular view or a pattern. So once the pattern name is second page or overview page, that will be checked here. If it is second page, I don't want to do any operation. I just wanted to return from this function. That's the reason we have used return. So when we have ID, then whatever we're doing is, if it is not the second page, and it will come to this particular line, and it will get the ID equal to EVT dot get parameter of arguments dot ID. So this will fetch the ID of this arguments, whatever that's passed. So there are arguments passed into this view, that is nothing but ID. So when it is not second page, means it is overview page, that time it will return. It will not do this. It will not set the model. So why we are setting the model is we are changing or refreshing the page, second page, with different ID. If it is 1, we are changing it to 7. If it is 7, we are changing it to 1. Like that, we are refreshing that. So how we are doing is ID, and we are assigning it, and we are taking a JSON model here, and inside this JSON model we are placing a content. What is the content we are placing? Directly ID as an property name, and inside this property name we have taken an ID. Whatever the ID is coming, we are assigning it here. So whatever the ID comes, it will be assigned directly here, and that model will be refreshed with the new data. So the data will be a model data, and that will be a named model. So named model is data. That's the reason whenever we go to second page view.html, we have a data -/id. So we have this. So we go here. So id equal to event.get parameter arguments id, we get the id and model, and then we are assigning it. That's how we are setting up. So whenever we have this, we are doing it. And then whenever we have a go back function, that time we are just going to the previous history. So once the history, this whatever we done, like whenever we say windows.history and go -1, that means it will go to the previous. It acts exactly like how we use a backspace in any of the window browser. It acts as the same page like that. So once we do it, that is like this. It will go to the previous history. So because we are storing everything in the routing. So that's all. And now the next page is, we are navigating to the another page, and that time we are sending an ID and within refresh thing. So that is second page, and with the second page we are doing ID:7. So ID:7 means we are passing a new data and we are saying as false. This is what we are doing in second page controller. The same thing we will check in the browser, how it is navigating and how the functions are called and how the data is updated. So once what I do is I'll be putting in the console. I'll be opening the console. The console shortcut key is F12. Whenever I talk about F12, please understand that I'm doing a console. I'm opening a console. I'm doing some operations in the console. That time I'll press F12. So please understand, whenever I talk about F12, it is console. And because I'm using Google Chrome, shortcut key is F12. Simple. What I do is I'll refresh this page, and once this page is called, that time. So once we do a sources, inside the sources we have app view.controller, overview controller, etc. Now we'll see a second page. When we go to a next page, that time all the controllers will be loaded, and then so we'll have a breakpoint in the go back function and the router function, and then we have a something called handle route, because it will not come to on in it. You can check that. So when you say like same page, it is not navigating, it is going to this particular function. It is saying this route to nav to second page with the ID 7, and it will say false. And then go to next, it will go to handle route matched. So when it is matched, it will come to here and it will check the OUVT.get parameter of name. So what it does give? It gives the second page. Yes, this is second page. So this function is, so now this condition will be false. So it will not come here. It will be directly going to, whenever I say this, it will go to 16th line. So it will get the ID. So how you get the ID? So like this. So evt.get parameter of arguments.id. So because we are giving a ID colon, so that's the reason arguments are ID. Then we can fetch the value of ID like this. And then what I'm trying to do, I'm trying a normal JSON model. So in this JSON model, I'm passing a different data 7. And then this .getView.set model, I'm doing it to the view, I'm setting it. So the model will be updated to, so it is 1, right? It will be updated to 7. When I say next, so once I say next, so it will be setting up to the model. So if you want to view, you can go to console. What you have to do is you have to clear this, and you have to take this .getView.get model. Once you get model, it will not get the model. So we'll say, what is this get view? So it's HTML view and get model, it is not coming. So what we have done is we have given the named model. So what the name we have given is data. See, we have given a named model. That's the reason. Only when I say get data, that time it will appear. And we'll go to OData, and in this OData, we have updated with the ID 7. So once we got the 7, we have to clear the console, and will be clear the console. Alright, that is how we are updating with the 7. So now we'll be going to the sources, and we have to go to the back. So once we have the back, so it will go to the nav back, go back functionality, and once I'll say next breakpoint will come because its pattern is matched, so that's the reason it comes here. So what is this event get parameter of name here? So when we hover it, it gives the second page. See, this is the second page. That means we are using a 1. Previous history was 1. We have the second page 1, and then we have refreshed to 7. So when I run this will be updated, and then I'll want to go back again, go back 7. So it should go back to a previous history, and then the next reloaded, and it comes to on init. So this means I have refreshed it. This is called the refresh button. When I say the back, we'll go to the layer back, and here it will check the history. It should be a overview. Then refresh. This is how. So it will not execute the 16th line. If you see, go to next page and save done, and when you go back, that time when I want to navigate 13th line it is, then it will go to 14, and it will come out of the function. That's it. So it will go to 19th line, and it will exit the view. This is how the routing is done. So this is how the routing is done. First, what we have done is we have started with index.html. In this index.html, we have component. So from this component, we are going to the component.js. So once we click on component.js, we have a different views. So we have taken a different pattern 1, pattern 2, pattern 3, so on, and then we have overview.html, and then controller, so and so we have navigating. So now what we do is, for a change, we'll add more to it. So now whether the view type is HTML, then it's fine. That's a view type is HTML, then it works absolutely fine with this patterns. Once we have an XML page, if you have developed, then how to navigate from that, we'll see that now. So how do it? We are adding a new pattern now. So new pattern is nothing but, so before the new pattern, we have to create a view. So there's a new pattern we have to write. So what view we are creating? We have to right click it, go to new, and then other, and you would say SAPUI5, and then you'll be finding an application project or view. So you want to create a new view, click on that, say next, and what view we want to have? We want to have a XML view. So XML page. So sample XML page. So this one, sample XML page, that is normal XML page dot view.html, and this controller will be automatically created. So I'll say finish. Once I say finish, these two files will be loaded. So in this content, I'm going to place a label. So see the XML page.view.html and XML page.controller.js. The both are created. So now I'll say a label, a text equal to, so XML page, and I'm going to save this. Now what I have to do? Now after creating the page, now I have to go to the pattern. So that pattern is in component.js. So now what I have to do? I have to create a pattern with the pattern, a colon, and give the name of that pattern what we want to name it. I'll be naming the same XML page. And now I'll give the name of that for the reference. So it will be XML page, because I don't want to have any parameter. I don't want to pass any parameter to it. So next is view. So view will be colon, and then we will be adding XML page. So once we declare this pattern, name and view, which view you want to load, then you can override this property called view type with XML, because this is an XML file. That's the reason. So now view type will be XML. So XML all caps, and save it. So once you save it, that's fine. And now you'll go to a overview controller.js. Once you go to overview controller.js, there you can change the function. So once I load this, I will be going to this function, go to next page. This has a particular function. So in this function, I'm going to change. So I'll go here. I'll be going to a overview controller. In this overview controller, I'll be finding a go to next page view. Here, I'm going to comment this, and I'm going to use the same line in the next, saying that that's to paste it, and I'm going to change it to XML page. So XML page. So, and we don't want to pass any data inside this, so I'll be saying null. I've saved it, that's synchronized, and now I'll be going to the application, and I'm going to refresh this with clearing the cache, and then this is how overview page, go to next page. Now once I'll be going to source, and then I'll be going overview.controller.page, and then the 38, and once I click on this, see the XML page comes. It will navigate to XML. Here we'll navigate to XML. Then see, this is a new title with the XML page. So this is how the routing is done. So I'm going to save this, so you can make use of this code and you can run. So basically routing is used for navigating from one view to another view. So we can have a different types of views inside it, and we have to control it with the component.js. You can add it. So it is very good concept and very important concept in SAP UI5, that is routing. First you have to start with index.html. In index.html you have to declare which component you're using. Then in that component you have to declare routes, configuration. So configuration and routes. In the routes, the pattern is very important, and after this pattern we have to initialize the router, and you have to see the destroy. So you have to write these two methods, custom methods. Then you have to call the default control, and in that default control you have to place the nav target controller nav container, this, and then as per the requirements you have to navigate. And then if you want to add more views, you can add more views in this pattern routes. So you can add more by just comma separated like this. This is the beauty of routing concept. So just make use of this example in your future applications, and I hope you do well with this routing, with this clear understanding. Thank you for listening. In the next session, we'll be seeing a different concepts.
Thank you for watching Edupedia World. Stay tuned for more videos.